Our first stop of the 3-day road trip is the home of the deadliest one-day battle in American military history, the Antietam Battlefield in Sharpsburg, Maryland. After several consecutive victories down south, in early September 1862, General Robert E. Lee decides to take a gamble by marching his Confederate Army north to bring the battle to Union soil. During his invasion of Maryland, Lee is forced to divide up his army to support their attack on the Union stronghold at Harper's Ferry, while Union General George B. McClellan's army quickly barrels in from the east. Lee sends a small army to South Mountain to slow down McClellan's attack, to buy time for Lee to coordinate his full arsenal of his troops to the strategic defensive landscape near Antietam Creek. Despite having intel of Lee's operational plans, McClellan mistakenly overestimates the size of Lee's forces and delays the battle 2 days. This delay allows Lee's army of 45,000 Confederate troops to be strategically placed in anticipation of the battle with McClellan's 87,000 Union troops. The vicious battle started at dawn on September 17, 1862, and by nighttime roughly 23,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing. We enter a quaint and innocent-looking church with an extremely violent history. As hundreds of bullets ripped through the white walls and cannon blasts shook its foundation, Dunkard Church was the starting point of the battle and main focal point of numerous Union attacks against the Confederate left flank. Despite being a place of worship, soldiers in the battle labeled this location as artillery hell due to the corresponding excessive cannon attacks between Union General Joseph Hooker's 1st Corps and Confederate General Stonewall Jackson's infantry. This was considered some of the Civil War's most savage fighting. Immediately after the battle, the Confederates used the church as a temporary medical aid station and rumored embalming station. I sneak a quick spirit box session in while nobody is around to see if there is any energy lingering over from the battle.
Is there anyone here who would like to come through and communicate? Can you tell us what did you do in this building? Why are you here?
While I'm not sure who the female is referring to as a hottie, I got those eyebrows for days, so I can only assume, there appears to be a mix of residual communication and possibly intelligent responses. The Confederates referred to themselves as rebels, and they did have control of the church area during the beginning of the war. The women coming through saying another sip and climb the hill could be nurses or aides coming through after the battle.
Can you tell us, were you a part of the war, or were you a civilian that just lived here?
Again, Rebel rings out of the spirit box. The tones do not sound friendly and almost accusatory. Are these memories of Union soldiers finding a rebel at the church? Or even worse, could the Union soldiers have time-traveling eyes to the future and are seeing me as a rebel?
I'm gonna switch real quick to an AM suite. See, it's really hard to hear this stuff. Oh, this guy's coming in. Never mind. All right, we're done.
We make our way towards a structure that stands above one of the battle's most gruesome milestones. The War Department hired local workers to construct the observation tower in 1896 so that visitors can get a panoramic view of the battlefield. The 60-foot structure was primarily built with locally sourced materials such as native limestone. Limestone typically contains a variety of accessory rocks, including quartz and pyrite, which are believed to harbor energy. The tower stands on the corner of the Sunken Road, or better known as the Bloody Lane, one of the most violent focal points of the battle. Could the quartz and pyrite within the tower structure act as a conduit, sucking in the painful energy of the surrounding locations?
Xbox. Scanning. FM.
Down there is Bloody Lane. Come from down there up into this tower. Oh, it was pretty cool. That was something.
The voice comes through confirming my assumption that the brutal energy emits from the Bloody Lane to the tower.
It comes through. Get out of here at that last one.
Voices spew out of the spirit box in a possible mix of intelligent and residual manners. During the battle, the Union Army wore blue uniforms. Although the tone sounded feminine, could the voice stating "Stop the Blue Wave" be a residual memory of a Confederate soldier calling out to his outnumbered troops as the Union Army continuously bears down on them in waves of humanity? According to a Google AI overview, there were approximately 6,541 babies named Emily born in 2021. However, every time I hear that name come through a paranormal device, my mind instantly wanders back to the many interactions I've had with the potential negative energy Emily Davis at the Bel Air house.
So the thing that poses itself as the little girl, Emily, we've come here so many times and I feel like we haven't got a concrete answer. Why are you here? Who are you? What are you?
The voice with the southern twang coming through telling us to get out coincides with a tourist coming up the stairs, so we are forced to oblige. We walked around the battlefield aimlessly taking in the sights and imagining the horrors that took place 160 years ago. Unbeknownst to our conscious minds, we found ourselves on the Bloody Lane Trail, magnetically being pulled towards the Sunken Road. With the sun blazing down upon us and the wind blowing the beautifully flowing field of corn, we stumble upon particles of brick on what looks like what might have been a foundation of sorts, and I decide to throw the spirit box on to see what we may have discovered.
We're in the middle of the bloody trail. Seems like there's some sort of foundation. Can you tell us, was there a building here before?
While some of the voices coming through seem residual, the voices asking who sent you and stating "I see you" leave me with the impression that the energy is able to see us in some fashion. From shadow figures to electronic voice phenomena, everything to us is fragmented when interacting with this unknown energy. I often wonder if we come through their realm as fragmented, or if they can fully see and hear us.
Did you find a brick? Hell yeah.
As I shut my spirit box off, my friend states that she found a large part of brick. Unfortunately, there are no identifiers and the structure that once sat in the spot is still unknown.
Can you tell us what was here? Can you tell us what was at this location?
While attempting to utilize the energy to tell the story of what once stood here, a voice comes through saying "can't tell." Is it possible that the structure was already gone by the time the energy stepped foot on this ground, and they also cannot identify what was there? Or do they possibly know and are unwilling to share this information? A voice comes through saying "a body." Unfortunately, I'll assume there were many bodies on this ground during the battle. However, could this energy be indicating that there is still a body buried underneath the surface?
Can you tell us what happened in this field back here? Can you tell us, give us names? Can you tell us what part of the battle you were in? Went to camp, I think it said.
An intelligent voice comes through saying she's dead, followed by some residual voices. With the female and child voices coming through, could this indicate the bricks were of a residence? Or could the male voice coming through saying "better lock you up" indicate that this was once a prison or a building where people were held captive? Unfortunately, nothing ties together and the bricks remain a mystery.
Are there any members of the Irish Brigade?
Not sure what a meat hog is, however, what catches my attention is when a voice comes through twice indicating that he was part of the Irish Brigade, known as valiant, disciplined soldiers in battle with occasional bouts of wild indiscipline in camp. The Irish Brigade was part of every major battle during the Civil War and often took on the toughest Union job. Of the 7,715 men that served in the Irish Brigade, 961 were killed or mortally wounded, and around 3,000 were wounded by the end of the Civil Civil War. During the Battle of Antietam, the Irish Brigade, despite losing 506 men in a matter of 20 to 30 minutes, relentlessly attacked Confederate General George B. Anderson's North Carolinians until they fell back to the Sunken Road, which became known as the Bloody Lane.
Can you tell us what year it was when you were on this land?
I could not find anything of significance with the date April 4th, nor did I see anything behind me. However, a voice at the end of the session comes through saying fort. Could these bricks be a part of an unknown fort that was used to imprison captive soldiers and was destroyed during the battle? Unfortunately, we do not know the origin of the energy we are interacting with, so oftentimes during investigations we are left with more questions than answers. We make our way up the trail and back to where we started. The Sunken Road. The Bloody Lane. While losing nearly half his men in a disorganized battle in the west woods of Antietam, Union General Edwin Sumner sends his extremely inexperienced Second Corps, led by General William French, to take out the Confederate center. Unbeknownst to French's brigades, Confederate General William H. Hill has two extremely experienced divisions strategically placed behind barricades awaiting the Union advance within the Sunken Road. While only having 2,500 soldiers to start the gruesome battle, Hill's division of grizzled veterans took out 1,700 of French's 5,700 men in about an hour. As reinforcements from both sides pour in, the Sunken Road becomes the battle's tumultuous nucleus of death and despair. After 3 hours of constant human-on-human destruction, 5,500 soldiers are left dead or wounded, and the Confederate army is forced to retreat. I decide to turn the spirit box on next to a marker regarding Confederate General H. Anderson, who was shot in the thigh and forced to leave battle, and ultimately his division faltered shortly after.
If there's anybody here that was from the Anderson division, can you come through and give us your name or give us your title?
There's today a range of
I think it said the Ranger?
After some digging online, I was able to verify that Ranger was an official rank during the Civil War. The other responses seemed to be more residual, with one yelling out, "Hold the line." With residual energy, it's a memory playing back infinitely. If the hypothesis that we're interacting with the energy of the deceased is true, is this merely an event the energy plays back, or is there an actual spirit trapped in an internal loop? If it is the latter, are the spirits cognitive of the repetitive nature of their existence?
I apologize because it's hard to hear responses live. Meaning no disrespect, asking the same questions, but can you come through again and just let us know what your last name was?
Trump and lean. I mean,
A mix of random responses, residual responses, and even a possible visit from a former president. The voice saying he's a kid and then "I'm bleeding" seems to be residual and could be indicative of a young soldier passing away. Personally, I avoid politics as I hate both sides of the political spectrum, but the voice coming through saying "I'm Trump" is rather peculiar. Could this be a soldier coming through saying his last name is Trump? Or like Venom leaving a bit of the symbiote to attach to his cellmate Cletus Cassidy and forming the supervillain Carnage?
I'm talking comic books, not movies.
Did the former president possibly leave a bit of energy at Antietam Battlefield? While I couldn't find anything online of Trump actually visiting the battlefield, he did donate his first quarter presidential salary, $78,333, towards restoration projects at Antietam Battlefield. I'm wondering if the bastard that came through at the end was residual, directed towards me, or possibly directed towards Trump for not donating more.
Did you die here? Is this where you passed away?
Could this mean that the voice coming through is of a former slave who passed away fighting for his freedom and felt that he died a free person? From both armies' perspectives, the Civil War was a battle for freedom. For the Confederates, it was a rebellion to tear away from what they viewed as a totalitarian government that limits their freedoms. While for the Union, it was a battle to keep a country united with a leader who wanted to break the chains of slavery and give everyone in the country the right to prosper. No matter the war or battle, both sides believe in something enough to risk their lives and view the opposition as the evil party. Everything in life is merely our perception of existence. Day 2 of Mikey's Maryland trip, we get weird following the footsteps of the literary legend, Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
We just want to know, how did you pass away? There's a lot of speculation.